Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Sheriff Dory Corn at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I'm here to provide some additional details regarding an officer-involved shooting that happened this past Sunday, November 23rd, 2025. Please note we're still early into the investigative process, and with that, some of the details may change as we collect more information. I want to begin with some general information. This is our 5th officer-involved shooting this year, and it's the 2nd non-fatal. At this same time last year, in comparison, we had 13 officer-involved shootings, 8 of which were fatal and 5 of which were non-fatal. The location of this officer-involved shooting took place at the entrance of an apartment complex located at the 5100 block of Indian River Drive. You can see an overview of the scene to my left. The officer involved in this use of force is Patrick Natali. He's 31 years old and has been with LVMPD since 2022. Officer Natali was armed with a Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm handgun, equipped with a tactical light and optic. Our investigation revealed he fired 1 round. Officer Natali is assigned to our Spring Valley Area Command, which is part of our Community Safety Division. The suspect in this incident has been identified as Wade Griffith. He's 38 years old, 5'11", 180 pounds. The suspect's charges related to this incident included 2 counts of robbery with a deadly weapon, 2 counts of battery on a protected person with a deadly weapon, and 2 counts of resisting arrest with a deadly weapon. The details of this event are as follows. On November 23rd, 2025, at approximately 12:26 p.m., we received a 911 call regarding an attempted robbery and carjacking that was taking place inside of an apartment complex located near the 5100 block of Indian River Drive. The first victim was driving within the apartment complex when a male, later identified as Wade Griffith, approached his moving vehicle and stated he was going to take it. Griffith then removed a large knife from his backpack, at which point the victim quickly drove away, but not before Griffith was able to use the knife to strike his vehicle. Griffith then continued to walk through the complex. He then approached another group of individuals that were working to repair a vehicle in the parking area. At that time, he demanded that they give him a vehicle. When they didn't, he entered one of the vehicles and attempted to rummage through some of the stuff. One of the victims pulled him out of the vehicle, and at which point Griffith then went to a backpack and retrieved a large knife. Griffith then continued to walk towards the front of the complex, at which time one of those victims called 911. I'll now play a portion of that 911 call. I'll just ask you to pay attention to a couple things, to include, 1, the victim not only says that the suspect has a knife, but 2, he also says that he's going to hurt people and that there are a lot of people around.
200 feet away right now from us, walking towards the entrance. He's still flashing the knife, man. He's got it in his left hand. He's wearing a backpack.
Flashing the air, bro.
Huh?
Flashing the air.
He's flashing it, bro. He's flashing knife. He's gonna hurt somebody, man.
So walking for the entrance to the complex?
He's walking towards the entrance of the complex, man. There's cars all over the place.
At this time, our first arriving officer arrives in the complex. He observes Griffith emerging from in between 2 of the buildings. The officer issues verbal commands, but Griffith ignores those verbal commands and begins walking towards the officer. That officer then attempts to take Griffith into custody, and a physical altercation ensues. During the altercation, Griffith punches the officer in the face, at which point the officer briefly disengages. At that moment, Officer Natali arrives, draws his taser, and begins giving verbal commands. But once again, Griffith ignored those commands. Officer Natali and his partner then attempted to physically engage the subject and to take him into custody. During the struggle, Officer Natali's partners heard yelling, "Griffith has a knife." Griffith then makes a swiping motion with his arm towards Officer Natali holding some object. Believing Griffith was attempting to stab him, Officer Natali drew his firearm and fired 1 round, striking Griffith. I'll now play a portion of the body-worn camera. In this video, you'll hear a female voice in the background yelling, "He's got a knife, be careful," also followed by Officer Natali's partner also yelling, "He has a knife."
Get on the fucking ground right now. Get down. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. Stop. Drop it now! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Get on the ground now!
Now show you a still photo from that same video that just shows the swiping motion holding some object at that time. After being shot, Griffith then walked a very short distance and then surrendered. He was then taken into custody without further incident. Our officers immediately began providing aid and requested medical attention. Ultimately, Griffith was transported to the hospital where he remains in stable condition. During the investigation, we determined that Griffith was holding what we now know as a vape pen with a closed fist during the struggle. We believe it was this object that he was using when he was swiping towards the officer when the officer believed he was being stabbed. To my left is a photo of the object that was recovered. But it's also important to note that additionally, after obtaining a search warrant for Griffith's backpack, we did recover a large knife secured in a sheath. You can see a photo of it here, as well as a second empty sheath for another large knife. Now, we're still searching for that second knife that belongs to that sheath, but as I just stated, we believe at the time of the struggle, when use of force was used, we believe that Griffith was holding the other object, which was the vape pen at that time. That concludes the formal remarks for this briefing. We have some time for questions, but I will just kindly ask all of you, please understand we are still early into this investigation. There are some things that we do not yet know or that need to be verified, and we can only give you the facts as we know of them today. With that, we can start with some questions. Yes, sir.
Did the suspect live at the apartment complex?
So the first question is, did the suspect live in the apartment complex? Our latest information indicates that he did live in the apartment complex or nearby, but somewhere in the vicinity.
Has Metro ever been called out for a wellness check regarding this specific suspect?
I'm not, the question was whether we've been called out for a wellness check specifically for this subject. We do know he has other history, including criminal history, as well as some what we call crisis intervention reports, where he's involved in other types of incidents where he might needed a medical attention. I cannot tell you whether that was at his apartment or what location that was at this time, but I do know he had prior history that indicates there were likely some mental health issues that he was dealing with.
Question. I know that this is just the 5th officer involved shooting last year compared to 13 last year. Is this saying something about the department taking preventative measures to ensure that you don't have as many officer involved shootings in the city?
So the question was comparing this to last year, where last year we had 13 officer involved shootings, now we had 5, and whether that is a result of preventative measures. The answer is yes. Sheriff Kevin McMahill has made it a priority to reduce officer involved shootings by 50%. It's a very ambitious goal. For any law enforcement head to suggest that in any one year, most people would think is just ridiculous. Yet we've achieved more than that because of that goal. So when that goal was set, as you just indicated, when we were at 13 at this time last year, that means we're down 60% on officer involved shootings, which is remarkable. However, I will just point out though that we're still in the policing business. And our men and women in law enforcement do have to carry firearms, not only for their protection, but for the protection of this community. And there are going to be situations where they do have to use force. So while we are very ambitious and effective in our goals to try to reduce officer-involved shootings as much as possible, there are going to be some situations where our officers have to use force because that is what they're charged to do for this community. Any other questions? Appreciate your time. Thank you.